presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Southwest.
Your Rangers picked up right where they left off last season when it comes to playing the Houston Astros. With a display of power, they out-muscled the Astros to open the series and set the tone for the Battle of the Boot. Tonight, the Rangers hope the muscle is on the mound. Cole Hamels tries to continue his unbeaten streak at the ballpark. Texas Ranger Baseball is presented by AT&T High-Speed Internet. Well, it's a warm and rather muggy night out here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Adrian Beltre and the Rangers backing up Cole Hamels as they take on the Houston Astros. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Graves, Steve Budge. Delighted you can join us on this Wednesday night of Ranger Baseball. Rangers looking to make it 9 wins in a row against this Houston ball club. And they've got the right guy on the mound, the hottest Ranger pitcher going since last year sometime, Cole Hamels.
Well, he has been hot buzz, and he's been exactly what the Rangers wanted. They needed an ace. They traded for him, and the results have been ace-like. 9-0 with a .316 ERA in his last 13 starts. He's been terrific in this ballpark. The Rangers have won 7 out of 10. They're playing some good baseball. They're scoring runs. And they've got the right guy on the mound tonight.
That they do, and the defense has picked up too, which Cole Hamels always takes advantage of when he's throwing a lot of strikes. You can see that here tonight. So Rangers trying to keep things going against Houston and trying to keep that lead in the American League West. We'll come back to Globe Life Park for the starting lineup and the first pitch right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T High-Speed Internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. By Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Well, the Rangers getting set to take the field here this evening, and always entertainment before the game in that Ranger dugout. Whatever's been working for you, keep it up, and they certainly are doing that. A loose Ranger ball club. Before we get underway, let's sit down and check in with Emily Jones.
Yeah, Buzz, the Rangers take game one of this three-game series against the Astros last night. One of the highlights when Elvis Andrus almost hit a home run. Instead, it was a double, but the trot looked a little home run-ish. So when he got back to the dugout, Adrian Beltre gave what we like to call a stink eye to Elvis. And here's what Banning had to say when we asked her about it today.
Ladies and gentlemen, screen tonight's play-ball kit presented by CC Carpets Flooring and Design Center.
He knows the type of game that we play and how we play it. And when he sees guys that don't hold those standards up, he reminds them. Sometimes it's with his words, and sometimes it's with his looks. But it's nice to have a guy like that on a ball club.
So definitely all fun and games last night in the dugout between Beltre and Elvis, but he did want to prove the point that he should run hard always. Never what they call pimp that home run, especially if you're not sure, absolutely sure it's going out. So Adrian's message received loud and clear, even though he didn't say much last night, did a lot of talking with those evil eyes, guys.
I bet if we had audio down there, we would have heard a little more than that body language and the look would have told us. But that's okay. That's exactly how Adrian Beltre leads. Houston Astros with this batting order. Tom Green will tell you about it.
Jose Altuve leads off. George Springer is batting second. The shortstop is Carlos Correa. Tyler White, sixth in the league and hitting, tied for fourth in RBIs, is batting fourth. Colby Rasmus, much improved at the plate as far as his eye goes. He's batting fifth. Evan Gattis is the DH. Carlos Gomez is in center field, had his first RBI of the season last night. Marwin Gonzalez is the third baseman, and batting ninth is the catcher, Jason Castro.
Well, that's the A.J. Hinch Astros lineup for tonight, and Cole Hamels getting set to take that on here at Globe Life Park. And he fires strike one to Altuve. Cole Hamels, a 32-year-old left-hander out of San Diego, California. This is his fourth start. A 2-0 record, a 2.95 ERA. Had a no decision his last time out. First time he had not gone at least 6 innings. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Opponent still with a very low batting average against Cole at 227. Hamels, we talked about on that streak, on several streaks, as a matter of fact, depending on what level you want to go to. 9 consecutive winning decisions. And he hits Altuve, a pitch down and in, looked like a cutter. And Altuve is aboard with the hit by pitch.
Buzz, I need to pretty much correct something I said last night. I said that Altuve was signed through 2017, next year. Technically he is, but the club holds 2 option years, which they will undoubtedly exercise. So he can't be a free agent. I guess technically he could after next year. In all likelihood, he won't be a free agent until after the 2019 season. He will have about 8 years plus in the big leagues and be 29 years old. Still in the prime of his career, but he will not, in all likelihood, be a free agent after next year.
Yeah, it's up to the club.
Up to the club.
Yeah,
but
based
on the numbers and his talent, they're going to exercise those options.
You're right.
So that was a little bit misleading, and to the people that recognize that, now you know the rest of the story.
There's a good changeup from Hamels to George Springer. Springer stepping in, hitting at 281, 4 early home runs, 9 runs driven in. And the top of the order, when you go from Altuve to Springer to Carlos Correa to Tyler White to tonight Colby Rasmus, they have produced in bunches. One of the reasons why the Astros is so puzzling, why Houston has gotten off to such a slow start record-wise. They're just 5-9. But I guess that goes right back to the pitching. It just hasn't made some early run support stand up very well. 2-1 pitch. And that's a little bit low. So 3-1 to Springer with Altuve at first. Springer hitting second. It'll be followed by the shortstop, Carlos Correa. Rangers, on the other hand, come in at 8-6. They have won 2 straight. They have not won 3 in a row this year. Hoping to snap that streak here tonight. Sharply hit, but pulled foul. Beltran was going to throw his glove at it. Had it stayed fair, and he said, "Nah, it's foul ball," so I'll put my glove back on. Rangers 4-3 at home this year. Here's a look at that shot. Watch Adrian. Always got something going. Amazing. 3-2 pitch. It hit him. Oh, back-to-back hit batters. Hamels, both of them look like with the cut fastball. Altuve to second now. Springer to first. And Correa coming up.
Well, pretty obvious Cole's trying to get the ball into both Altuve and Springer. You can see Bryant setting up on the inside corner. Unfortunately, both pitches just got away from Cole and resulted in hit by pitches.
A brief visit from the 2 middle infielders for the Rangers. Odor and Elvis Andrus to say something to Cole. So 2 on, nobody out. Carlos Correa, a .271 average, will step to the plate. Correa, 3 home runs, 7 driven in, a .352 on base percentage. Very little experience against Cole Hamels, just 4 at bats. 1 ball, no strikes. Against the Rangers, though, Correa, in the just about 3/4 of a year that he has been battling the Rangers, had pretty good success. 2-0. Now Cole struggling here in the early going, and that's not unusual. That's something that Cole would rather not have happen, but he's familiar with the feeling out there of not really having good command, and he knows what he has to do to regain that. Just throw some pitches, get out of this early jam, and know that things will get better. There's a good changeup.
Probably a pretty good idea in that count. 2-0 fastball count. Guy with power at the plate.
Hamels, along with winning 9 straight decisions, which is a career high for him. He's been on a team that has won 13 consecutive ball games that he has started. That's the 2nd longest streak in Ranger franchise history. Bobby Witt with a 14 start streak, the only one with more.
Well, this will be an interesting pitch because the last 2 swings and misses came on changeups. So now the count goes to 2-2. Good location with those changeups too. Down, away, a little bit out of the strike zone.
Came with it again, got to strike it.
3 straight changeups. I guess once you see him take that swing, you're going to keep throwing that pitch until he changes something. And in that at bat, he wasn't able to change anything. 3 straight changeups and a big out. I got the feeling, Buzz, if any one of those was a fastball, he probably would have been right on it.
No doubt,
based
Tom,
on the swing.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And that's a pretty good lesson for not only young pitchers, but any pitchers. You know, if a guy is having trouble hitting a pitch, don't go away from it unless you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And Cole, a couple of reasons why he needed that changeup. Couldn't get the fastball where he wanted to. And as you mentioned, fastball counts, and Correa, a pretty tough hitter. Here's Tyler White with 1 out and 2 on. And that caught the inside corner for strike 1.
Yeah, probably in that at bat, he had the changeup 2-1 and said, okay, there's the changeup. Right. Now I'm ready for the fastball.
Yep.
Okay, there's 2 in a row. Now I'm ready for the fastball. And he just kept throwing it.
Well, once you got to 2-2, you're between a rock and a hard spot, weren't you, as a hitter?
Yeah.
So you had that changeup right at the front of your mind, not in the back of your mind. 1 ball and 1 strike to Tyler White.
It's hard to look for a changeup when you have 2 strikes. Because if he throws a fastball, you're only going to be able to take it. If you look for a fastball, you can still make an adjustment. He wasn't able to, but at least you have a chance to if you look for a fastball. He's got him looking for the fastball right now with 2 men on. And maybe the hitter's mentality changes a little bit with a couple of men on base. You're a little more aggressive. A little bit out in front of that changeup.
Tyler White's got to take that top button out and take a full swing. A little tied up. 1-2 pitch. Runners on the move. The throw is going to second. And out from here to Grand Prairie is George Springer. And it was a called third strike, so it becomes a double play.
What an inning. 2 hit-by pitches, and Rangers are off the field.
They're gonna hold up just for a second. A.J. Hinch saying, hang on here now. We want to take a look at that. I'm not sure he's really sure exactly what happened. That if it was a called third strike. And Hinch.
Might be the tag at second base, Buzz.
Right, waiting for some guidance from upstairs.
The throw is there in plenty of time.
Right there.
He's out by about 2 feet, so I don't think they're going to call it.
Well, Hinch is going to go out and have a chat with home plate umpire Marvin Hudson. And I'm not really sure what that's about, but apparently they're going to issue a challenge on the tag play at second base.
Well, evidently the pitch was called a strike. It looked like the tag was made at second, so not sure exactly what AJ was checking with the umpires about. They're going to talk to him a little bit more.
Yeah, Bill Welke, the crew chief, the first base umpire, and he wanted to make sure that he understood what Hinch was asking the umpiring crew to do, and apparently it was take a look at that play at second.
Well, let's see if we missed something here, because they're obviously going to the replay.
Well, judging from the 2 angles we've seen, there shouldn't be much of a decision to make.
He missed his hand, but there's the tag.
Right.
Before the hand comes back down. I mean, the only thing you could argue is that he missed the tag. It never touched his shoulder. But I don't know how you're going to get that overturned, because there's no way to see that he absolutely missed his shoulder with that tag. I don't think.
Well, I agree. We've had the 2 angles that you could best see that, and it sure looked like the tag was applied. And not a very long determination. That is a strikeout, throw him out, double play, and that ends the first. Cole Hamels able to work around a potential rough spot in the first. 1 runner left after half inning. The Astros nothing. Rangers coming up. The scoreboard at the top of the first. Now Thompson will tell you about the Southwest Airlines Rangers lineup.
Oh, Delano DeShields is hitting .319. He'll be the leadoff hitter. Nomar Mazara still above .400. He's going to bat second. Prince Fielder is tied for second with 13 RBIs. Adrian Beltre tied for fourth. He has 11. Mitch Moreland's batting fifth. Ian Desmond is in left field. Rougned Odor, he's tied for fourth with 11 RBIs as well. The Rangers have 3 hitters in the top 5 in RBIs. Elvis is 8th, and Brian Holiday gets the start behind the plate.
And that lineup facing the 32-year-old right-hander from California, 6'8" Doug Fister. Fister used to throw in the low 90s when he was with the Tigers and with Seattle, and he's lost a significant amount of velocity. Still a good sinker, and from that frame, Looks like he ought to throw the ball about 98 miles an hour. Going to be a tough play, and Gonzalez gets the ball quickly and unloads it to get the liner to shield. One gone. Well, let's take a look at the rest of the Astro defense. Brought to you by T-Mobile tonight. Outfield has Colby Rasmus in left field. Carlos Gomez in center. George Springer in right. White and Altuve on the right side. Correa and Gonzalez on the left side with Jason Castro behind the plate. So one up, one away here is Nomar Mazara. Mazara with a home run and 5 driven in. He pounds one to right. But Springer, playing fairly shallow, had to backpedal pretty quickly and made the catch. He's out number 2.
Yeah, Nomar didn't really hit that ball all that hard. And you're right, Buzz. Springer played for a left-hand hitter like that. He was playing really shallow in right field. Didn't matter on that ball. That ball was hit off the bad part of the bat. Just kind of hung up there.
Oh, 2 outs. Here's Prince Fielder, who in his first at bat last night cranked one to the back of the lower seating bowl under the home run porch. Under the upper home run porch. His second home run of the year. He's tied for second in the American League with 13 RBI. Well, the average may not be where Prince is accustomed to having it, but the run production certainly is there. Against Houston, Fielder's had pretty good success, 20 ball games and a .353 average. He's only faced Fister a couple of times, and he is 2 for 2 with a home run and a double. The 1-2. That 87-mile-an-hour fastball, right about where Doug Fister's been topping out. And he, losing that little extra velocity made a big difference on how effective that sinker-slider combination was. He's had to go to a little more stealth. There's a loop to right center field. That's going to be down for a base hit. Fielder, a big turn, hangs on as Gomez gets to the ball quickly. A 2-out single by Fielder, and Adrian Beltre will come up.
It looked like a changeup.
Yep.
Not a strike, but Prince is able to still yank it into right center field. Give Adrian a chance with somebody on base. One thing Fister probably won't do is walk anybody. Throughout his career, been very stingy with the bases on balls. Excellent command of his pitches.
Yeah, he has the lowest walk rate of any pitcher in the major leagues with 1,000 innings or more. About 1 3/4
Pretty
per
good.
9 inning.
Walked 2 so far this year and 11 1/3. Right about on target.
Adrian, that .288 average. And there's the slow breaking ball for a strike. 0-2. Our Kubota Power Stats talking about Doug Fister and what Tom had just told you about the lack of walks. 1.76 walks per 9 innings. Best among major league pitchers with at least 1,000 innings. And Adrian skies one to shallow right center field. Backing out is Altuve. And that'll do it. Fielder's a 2-out single. No advantage for the Rangers. They strand a runner. We're moving on to the second. Rangers nothing, and the Astros nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. following Tom Greaves' suggestion, bring that glove out to the ballpark.
Give you a better chance for a souvenir, Buzz.
Yep. And in their case, they might be able to protect mom and dad.
Yep.
Foul ball. Colby Rasmus leading things off. It'll be Rasmus, Gaddis, and Gomez here to face Cole Hamels. Rasmus, as you can see the bottom line there, against Cole Hamels, 3 for 10. Rasmus able to handle this particular left-hander pretty well in limited numbers of at-bats, but Cole Hamels jumping out in front, 0-2. Hamels in the first inning had back-to-back hit batters, Altuve and Springer, and then found a way to get a couple of strikeouts and a caught stealing to end the inning. It's a pretty good turnaround for the veteran left-hander. Rasmus overall a .282 average, 3 home runs, and 8 driven in. He has reached base safely in all 11 games that he's played for the Astros this year. And he's going to do it again as he pounds one to right field for a leadoff single. Cole leaving that pitch out over the plate, and Rasmus not missing it. Evan Gaddis coming up, and we're going to check in with Jim Knox. Hello.
Well, I appreciate it, Buzz. Another great night here to watch the Rangers hopefully come up victorious this evening. We got the Murphy family in from Mansfield, 5 strong, and we got our first time here. What's his name?
This is Jax.
How old?
He is 7 months.
All right, good to have Jax in that.
We love Pudge, but we're not changing his name.
Okay, okay, he's a good-looking guy. We're going to give him a little Ranger hat right there. Perfect, right there. All right, you guys enjoy the game. Good to have you out here.
No, Evan Gaddis not wasting any time as he shoots one up the middle. So starting out the same way as the first inning did with the first 2 runners aboard. This time Rasmus and Gaddis with base hits. And we'll take a look at the Ranger defense brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation. Outfield, Desmond DeShields and Mazzara, left, center, and right. Moreland at first. Odor joins him on the right side. Anderson, Beltre man the left side with Brian Holiday doing the catching. 2 on, nobody out. Carlos Gomez, the center fielder, up. Well, you remember last night, Carlos Gomez had some strange-looking swings late in the ball game. That first pitch down and in.
Boy, that almost hit him. That was almost the 3rd hit batter in 8 batters. Cole trying to bury that cut fastball inside and kind of yanked it 3 times.
He came back with a changeup.
It's been his best pitch so far.
It's been his go-to when he's been struggling with the command of the fastball.
Rasmus and Gaddis both hit fastballs for base hits. He's hit a couple of batters, but when he's needed it, the changeup has gotten him out of trouble.
The bunt is down. It's a good one. Cole, quick throw, not in time. And the bases are full with nobody out for the Astros.
Well, Gomez has not been off to a fast start, but he can run. And in that position, the bunt is a pretty good play. You get it down and beat it out, great. If you don't, chances are you've advanced the runners to second and third. Got a little spin on that, so it didn't roll very much. By the time Cole got to it, he didn't have a play.
So 3 consecutive hits to open the inning. Marwin Gonzalez, the switch hitting third baseman, now will step in. He's the number 8 hitter in the order. .217 average overall, but Gonzalez this year, going back to last year, has just been crushing left-handed pitching. 44 for 147. That's right at 300. 1 ball, no strikes. Rangers will play the infield back. They will give up the run unless they can get a ground ball at either Beltre or Moreland. Ground ball up the middle, settling for a chance at a double play. 2 balls, no strikes. Cole kind of snapping at that last pitch and not very happy with himself at the moment. He's still trying to find that release point. A good changeup.
Yeah, pointing down, go to the changeup.
2-1 now. Maybe if he can talk himself into starting each hitter as if it's 2-0, then he can go to work on him.
Chances are that changeup will work on the first pitch just as well as it is when he's behind in the count.
The 2-1. And 3 balls and a strike. Cole, 30 pitches already, has 16 strikes, 14 balls. That is very unlike Cole Hamels. Trying to make the adjustments here on the fly. Bases full of Astros, nobody out. And Marwin Gonzalez asked for time. Gonzalez, the number 8 hitter. He'll be followed by the catcher, Jason Castro. To right field. Tagging at third is Rasmus. The catch made by Mazzara, and Rasmus puts the brakes on. Now they've got a rundown between first and second.
Run to third base. Run right at him. Don't throw it. Don't throw it. Don't throw it.
There you go.
Boy, the Rangers have turned a couple of strange double plays in 2 innings. With no idea where Gaddis was going on that play.
That's your normal 9-4-2 double play.
Boy, that's one way to pitch out of a bases loaded no out jam. Of course, it's not out of it yet. It's second and third, but now there's 2 outs.
And Hamels can't help but laugh. He said, "You got to be kidding me." 2 innings in a row I've had that.
Well, if the runner at third had tagged, he would have been out by 20 feet on that throw. The runner at first is off. The runner at second had gone to third. The only guy that didn't run was Rasmus at third base. And the coach probably told him to stay there.
Yeah.
I think the other guys just assumed it was deep enough. They assumed Rasmus was going to tag up and try to score, so they tagged up and went.
Well, I shorted Brian Holiday with 1 assist. He had 2 assists on that play. It went 9-2-4-2. Watch how this thing unfolds.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts on that play. A lot of base runners to keep track of.
And a swinging strike to Castro. It's 1-1. You know, that bluff down the line from third was so good. He picked off Gomez from first base. Castro just 156 with the average. 1 RBI, still looking for his first home run. 2 outs, second and third. And the pitch a bit low. Castro has had good success in this ballpark, a .313 career average. Right now, he's in the midst of an 0 for 6. Off the end of the bat. And Beltre from down under. Smoke and mirrors. Cole Hamels getting it done. And he'll take that every day of the week. No runs, 3 hits, 2 left. 1.5 in the books. We are scoreless. on Fox Sports Southwest. He is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. The charmed life of Cole Hamels and the Rangers. 3 hits, 2 hit batters, and no runs across in 2 innings. Cole will get it figured out, though. You give him the opportunity like the Astros have, and you're asking for trouble because he will figure things out before he goes back out there again.
Well, he had a smile on his face. Pretty sure he's never had a first and second inning back-to-back, anything like that before. Probably had some where a lot less was going on and more runs scored.
Yeah.
A lot of base runners, but a couple of great double plays. Strike them out, throw them out.
Mitch Moreland going after the off-speed pitch from Pfister with no success. Mitch swinging the bat with authority lately. He has hit in 4 straight. Over that time, he's gone 6 for 16 with 3 doubles and 2 home runs. 4 straight games, he has also had an extra base hit, an RBI, and a run scored in each of those 4 straight. And our TXU Energy Power Player to watch. Man in the screen right there, 5 of his last 6 hits for extra bases. And there's the extra base hit, the RBI, and a run scored in 4 straight. Longest streak by a Ranger since Adrian Beltre. From the 31st of August through the 3rd of September back in 2012. Correa, 1 gone. Mitch hit that right off the end of the bat. He rolls out. Now Ian Desmond will come up.
Yeah, you go up to bat against a pitcher like Pfister and you say to yourself, well, I have to wait. I know he's going to throw a lot of a big assortment of off-speed pitches. And you tell yourself that, but when you get up there, it's still hard to do. That's why Pfister's been a successful pitcher, even though he's thrown harder than this before. Never been known as a flamethrower. But he's had a nice career. Came into this game for his career with a 3.46 ERA.
Ian Desmond had his first multi-hit game of his Ranger career last night. And a single and a double. Almost got the ball up on Greens Hill last night. The double that he hit off the wall. 2 balls, no strikes. Ian making his 14th start in the 15 ball games the Rangers have played. 2-1. Three balls and a strike. Desmond hitting 6th in the order. He'll be followed by the Rangers' second baseman, Odor. Doug Pfister, he mentioned 6'8" right-hander out of Fresno State University. Grew up in the Central Valley. Again, one of those big guys that just doesn't throw nearly as hard as being 6'8" would tell you should. Is there a little deception in that from a big guy for a hitter?
I think so, yeah. I think tall guys are a little tougher to pick up. It looks like he probably has a little bit of the ability to hide the ball when he lets go of it.
Now the payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4. Desmond draws the walk. He is aboard with 1 out, and Odor coming up. An oddity for Pfister.
It is an oddity for him to walk anybody. Pitch was close, but didn't get the call.
Well, Rugnet now with that batting average up to 250. A home run, 11 driven in. And Rugnet of late really been stinging the baseball. He's got a 4-game hitting streak. On 7 for 16 in those 4 games. Also had 11 RBIs in his last 10 games while hitting .342. On this homestand, those numbers right there will tell you 5 RBI and 2 doubles. Astros in the overshift. Again, the Astros shift as much as any team in baseball. The lone Astro on the left side of the diamond, Marwin Gonzalez. Correa and Altuve splitting the distance between first and second. 0-2. Back in 2014, Rougned Odor made his major league debut against the Astros. He's hit a couple of balls down at Minute Maid Park in that second deck. Not too many people go up there with regularity. Desmond got a good break. He's going to be in at second. And there's the aggressiveness on the base paths for the Rangers. And Ian picking that up. Likes to do that. He said he's all for that aggressive base running style that the Rangers have. And so that fits his game to a T.
You have to have the good instincts. You have to be able to, you don't have the luxury to wait and see exactly where the ball is going to bounce. You have to take off as soon as, right now, as soon as it hits the dirt and bounces up. Otherwise, Castro would have recovered and been able to make the throw.
Well, a wild pitch, Desmond in scoring position, and that's good news for Rougned because he's one of the best in the league this year with runners in scoring position. High and tight. Odor 6 for his last 8 with runners in scoring position. He's second in the American League overall on 6 for 11. And 9 RBI in these situations. Two and 2 the count. Did a pretty good job of waiting on that as long as he could, but about a 70-mile-an-hour slow breaking ball. There we go. Wear your Ranger red out here, your Ranger blue, and you get a souvenir to boot, or of the boot. That ball hit high and deep to right field. Springer is looking up. It is gone in the upper deck for Rougned Odor. Something about the Astros puts the muscle in Rugi. Upper tank, 2-0 Texas.
Well, they've tried to pound Rougned in the first couple of games. The pitch before that was up and in, and it was a ball. That one got up and in, but not quite far enough, at least not far enough to keep him from hitting it into the upper tank in the home run porch. See where he got this pitch. Well, he wasn't trying to throw it over there. He's trying to throw it on the other side of the plate. It's up and in, but kind of right in Rugi's wheelhouse. He knows that's gone.
Yep. Just dropped the bat, put his head down until he got halfway through the dugout and needed to see those guys. There's a hot smash to Gonzalez, picked off neatly. And Elvis, a tough out, 2 gone. Odor, with his second home run of the year, is now tied Prince Fielder for the team leadership with 13 RBI. No, base is empty. Brian Holiday now coming up. Holiday, the TCU X. Outstanding catcher at TCU for 3 years. Johnny Bench Award winner, signifying the best college catcher in the nation. 0-2. Holiday, remember, came over from the Detroit Tigers right at the end of spring training. Rangers made a deal for him, and after some decisions on the backup catching role,
one thing Brian has shown in a brief time is he can throw. He's thrown out several would-be base stealers. And that's pretty much what the Rangers were looking for. They feel like they're going to score runs. They've got hitters in the lineup. And I'm sure what Jeff Bannister is looking for from Brian is handle the staff, control the running game, and chip in offensively. Doing a good job of that.
2-2, yeah, and he's had to be a quick learner coming over at the end of spring training to pick up for lost time on getting to know all the pitchers, and he's done a very good job of that. Caught a lot of guys in the bullpen, and really made a great effort. Rasmus comes in and makes the catch. That'll do it. But Rougned Odor teed off his second home run of the year, a 2-run blast. And we'll go to the third inning here at Globe Life Park. The Rangers leading the Astros 2-0. Thursday pin is a tribute to the Rangers' AL West division winning 1996 team. Be one of the first 10,000 fans in the park tomorrow. Watch the Rangers take on the Astros and pick up this special collectible. Find your tickets at TexasRangers.com. The Rangers giving Cole Hamels a couple of runs to work with, courtesy of Rougned Odor's second home run of the year. And now Hamels, for the second time tonight, will face the top of the order: Altuve, Springer, and Correa. Altuve hit by a pitch, leading things off. And he lines one to left. That's going to be down for a hit. Desmond cuts it off. Altuve going for two. The throw is not quite in time. Oh, he got it. He got him. It looked like Altuve was sliding to the inside part of the bag before Odor could get the tag on, but that is not what the second base umpire, DJ Rayburn, saw.
Cole is getting outs in every imaginable way. Thank you very much, Ian. Went there quickly to retrieve the ball. Knew Altuve might try to go. Comes up with an excellent throw with something on it. Rougned does a nice job catching the short hop and then slaps the tag on Altuve. And the Rangers get another out.
Boy.
On the bases.
Yeah, George Springer, first ball swinging, pops one to right. Omar Mazara. That is out number two. And we want to remind you, too, that A.J. Hinch already used up his challenge in the first inning.
Good point.
Well, it's even if you wanted to challenge this, and I thought, you know, the way it looked to the naked eye, that he was safe. It looked like he got that foot in, but the tag stayed on him. And I think what DJ Rayburn, the umpire, saw was that front foot come off, and the back foot wasn't there yet.
Yep, a little daylight. Boy, you've got a number of outs on the bases. A caught stealing on a double steal in the first inning. Bases loaded, pop up to right field, turns into a double play. Now a line shot down the left field line. trying to go for a double turns into an out. Threw it off. Cole's had 39 pitches. Could be a lot more than that. He's also made a lot of good pitches when he had to, too.
It's popped into right. It's going to be a 1-2-3 inning. Mazara makes the catch, and the Astros are gone. No runs, a hit, and nobody left after 2.5. It's the Rangers 2, the Astros nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Hamels takes the mound this season. Section 9 becomes Hamels Heroes, like those folks right there. Everyone purchasing a ticket at Hamels Heroes section receives a good-looking T-shirt and a K card. Visit TexasRangers.com/Hamels. Purchase your tickets for Monday, April 25th. Cole Hamels takes the mound against the New York Yankees. Delino to Shields. Second time now facing Doug Fister. Delino chopped one off the plate to the third baseman Gonzalez first time up. Kind of a skimmer out to Altuve. That is out number 1. Nomar Mazara coming up before he steps in. Let's send it over to John Radigan for a Chevy game break.
Nomar Mazara.
All right, John, thank you. Chris Sale using the Cole Hamels approach. Let those guys go ahead and run until somebody tags them.
I'm glad Chris Sale had such a good game today. It means he won't pitch against the Rangers
there you go.
in Chicago.
There you go.
Chicago's been getting great pitching early in the year. He's not their only good pitcher. They've got several other guys that are hot right now, too.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Mazara. Nomar lined out to right field. His first time up there. Mazara now hitting at an even 400.
One of the surprises in their rotation is Matt Latos. He's off to a 3-0 start. He's pitched great. He's been down the last couple of years, had some injuries.
Yeah, he's kind of resurrected things for himself
like he's
up
bouncing,
there.
Yeah, looks like he's bouncing back. Rangers will see him in the third game of that series.
Fister back up on top of the hill. Has worked 42 pitches so far, 28 strikes, 14 balls for the veteran right-hander. Nomar Mazara waiting, hitting out of that wide open stance. Near the bag at second, Correa. 2 gone. Boy, and that's vintage Doug Fister right there. A lot of ground balls, pounding that ball into the dirt. Just that the velocity isn't quite there for him in the way it used to be, and that's not as consistent a pitch.
He's been very successful keeping hitters off balance, and even without the velocity, he's still got the knack for doing that.
Well, here's Prince Fielder, who lined a single to right center back in the first inning. And with that base hit now, Fielder up to 189 with the average. Remember, this time last year, Fielder hitting in the mid-350s. And really the only one on the Ranger club that had gotten off to a good start offensively. Amazing the difference a year makes. Even without the high average, Fielder still with 13 RBI, good for second in the American League. And Correa takes care of that two-hopper. So 3 ground balls and a quick 1-2-3 inning. Pfister and the Astros take care of the Rangers. We'll move on to inning number 4. It remains the Rangers 2 and the Astros nothing. Hamels out to the mound and had a chance between innings to visit with a special guest down in the Ranger dugout. Anthony Iapoce joining us now, Rangers' new hitting coach. Anthony, is it safe to say that you've developed a very good relationship with the hitters in a fairly short period of time?
I think we're getting there. You know, we established that in spring training, but the relationship is not necessarily easy, but they've made it easier on me and Justin. These guys are unbelievable human beings. They're great people, and they've welcomed everything.
Anthony, when you hear people talk about hitters like me and Buzz, we'll talk about guys needing to be a little more aggressive or needing to be a little more patient. How do you distinguish between the two when you're teaching your hitters?
Well, I think tonight, you know, with Pfister, he throws a ton of strikes, so we're telling them to be aggressive on a pitch in the zone and where they're looking. And a night like Feldman, where he throws a lot of stuff, a lot of movement, we ask the guys, hey, just be a little bit more patient, bring that ball back over the plate, and go from there. So it depends on who we're facing and what we're trying to tell them, and then how they respond to what we talk about.
Right. You're off to a great start offensively. Are you pretty well pleased with how the message that you're getting across has been received?
Yeah, I think it's going great. I love the way the guys are engaged. They're engaged in their practice. They're engaged in the meetings. And, you know, like I said last year, watching this team from afar, the dugout and the energy and how they pull for each other has been tremendous.
Anthony, thanks very much for the time. We appreciate it. Keep it going. It's fun to watch.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Anthony Iapoce, and well, there have been bordering on rave reviews coming out of Rangers hitting sessions about how hard-working Iapoce is, how excited he is about things, how enthusiastic he is about teaching hitting. And it shows. I think you've seen a different, I guess, the energy factor in the Ranger lineup certainly looks like it's better. Of course, when the ball club is is hitting better and scoring more runs, you're going to get more energy in the lineup. Cole Hamels, by the way, with a strikeout of Tyler White to open up this inning. First time that Cole had retired the leadoff hitter in an inning. Colby Rasmus started off the second inning by singling to right. And it looks like Cole might be settling into a good routine here. 1-2. Rasmus with that single has the average up to an even 300 for the year. Shallow left field. Desmond coming on. Andrews going out. Elvis takes charge and makes the catch. Kind of a tough time of the night now. It's getting to be twilight, and that ball going up into that pastel colored sky. Not easy if you take your eye off it, I wouldn't think, to pick it back up.
No, I think it's easier for the infielders. I can remember doing this and watching outfielders. When it gets to this point in the game, they'll yell into the, if you're the left fielder to the shortstop, say, I'm having a hard time seeing it. Take it if you can get it. And I'm not sure if that's what happened to Ian on that play. But I do believe that the infielders are able to pick those pop-ups up in this kind of light easier than the outfielders can.
Here's Evan Gattis, who had an infield single in his first time up there. Yeah, it's interesting because we always talk about the outfielder taking charge and running the infielder off, and this is kind of a reverse of that, huh?
Yeah, and I think the opposite is true too. If you're the outfielder, it may be a time where you see it better than the infielder, so don't take for granted that the infielder's going to catch it. Run in, and if you've got it all the way, call for it, knowing that if you don't see it, the infielder's going to come out and get it. Infielder goes for everything he can get to until he's called off by the outfielder.
Hamels back to Gattis. He gets the inside corner. Evens things up now, 2-2. Evan Gattis, the Dallas native, coming back from sports hernia surgery. Missed all of spring training.
Cool.
Good.
I was just going to say, Cole's working quick. He's getting that ball and firing it.
Call strike 3. Got the breaking ball to the inside corner. Hamels with a couple of strikeouts in a very neat and tidy 1-2-3. 3.5 in the books. Rangers leading 2-0 on Fox Sports Southwest. '30th, the Rangers played the division rival Los Angeles Angels. It's also Captain and Friends Mascot Weekend. First 7,500 kids 13 and under get a Rangers Captain's t-shirt jersey presented by Fanatics. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or you can call 972 Rangers. 13 and under, you get that great looking shirt. Rangers come to bat in the bottom of the 4th inning. Adrian Beltre starting things off. And He smacks one down to his counterpart, Marwin Gonzalez. One gone. Well, that's 4 consecutive ground balls now. Given up by Doug Fister, he appears to be zeroing in the bottom of that strike zone. And before Mitch Moreland steps in, let's check in with Emily Jones.
Well, Buzz, we'd like to take this opportunity to tell you about a really cool event that took place a couple of weeks ago in Surprise, Arizona. During spring training, Rangers minor league coaches and Rangers pitcher Sean Tollison and Nick Martinez gave participants in the City of Surprise Bambino Buddy Ball League a once-in-a-lifetime experience with a special fantasy camp. Kids received personal Rangers jerseys, exclusive instruction, and had a chance to get autographs and spend time with Rangers guests. The Rangers Baseball Foundation joined fantasy camps for kids to put this event on. Always a fun time out in Arizona.
All right, and thank you. Mitch Moreland going the other way deep down the line. It's a fair ball, and it's going to be extra bases for Mitch. Boy, that's something we didn't see the first couple of weeks, but now the last 5 ball games, Mitch Moreland has hit safely in all of them, and he has 4 doubles in those 5 ball games.
In his first at bat, he was way out in front on a swing and a miss, and then on a ball hit off the end of the bat. Watch this swing. On that swing, it looked like he was saying to himself, I'm going to wait and go the other way to keep from being out on my front foot. He did just that and almost got a home run. That would have been a home run in Houston.
Yeah.
Home run in Boston.
Now Ian Desmond trying to go after that hanging breaking ball, at least the way he saw it. Nothing in 1. Desmond drew a walk and scored in the second inning. His walk preceded Odor's blast to the upper deck. A little bit low and outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Highest average with runners in scoring position. The Rangers second in the league to the Baltimore Orioles. They have been really tearing it up, and that's one of the reasons why the offense has been so consistent in the last week or so. Really done a great job. The Rangers also lead the American League in runs scored. 68 of them coming in. They're now at an even 70, and Ian Desmond looking to up that number. Backhand stop by Castro. It's 3 balls and a strike to Desmond.
Definitely pitching careful to Ian. Talk about a guy that walks less than 2 per 9 innings in his career. He walked Ian the first time up, and now he's 3-1 to him in this at bat. Can't get a slider over to him.
And right-hander against right-hander. I don't think Fister's intentionally being that careful with
Wouldn't
Desmond.
think so.
You got Rougned Odor waiting in the on-deck circle.
Exactly.
Rougned's already taken him deep. Moreland getting his lead out there at second, right at the bottom of your screen. Up the middle. Now Altuve, though, is shading up the middle. He throws out Desmond. On to third goes Moreland. He's there with 2 outs. And Odor coming up.
Now batting the second baseman, Odor.
Got a base open with Rougned up, coming off a home run. And then you got Elvis coming up after Rougned. Elvis has been hot. He came into the game at 375, hitting well in clutch situations. And his first time up, he hit a bullet right at the third baseman.
And Odor did nothing to take away from his average with runners in scoring position. He is now 7 for 12 after that home run. Big slow breaking ball, and Rougned walks it all the way into Castro's glove. Mitch Moreland down there at third. 2 outs in the Ranger fourth. Off the end of the bat, and Fister's going to get out of it. No, the 1-out double to Moreland. Mitch gets as far as third, but he's stranded there. We have finished 4 innings at Globe Life Park. The Rangers leading the Astros 2-0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Darkness descending on Globe Live Park. It's all light as far as the Rangers are concerned. They lead the Astros 2-0. Cole Hamels, who had his first real 1-2-3 inning in the fourth with a couple of strikeouts, deals strike one to Carlos Gomez. Bottom third of the Astro order: Gomez, Gonzalez, and Castro. Good pitch in that time, and Carlos Gomez is going to hop around a little bit. Gomez telling him, I hate it when that happens. Right off my foot. And he's going to add a flair even to that.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that look at Carlos Gomez, and the first thing they say is he's a hot dog. He's a showman. And he probably is to a certain extent, but I kind of like the way he plays. He's flamboyant for sure. But he plays hard. He's got a joy for the game. Last night he took a couple of bad swings and had a little smirk on his face. He knew what kind of swings they were. So he's got personality. Nothing wrong with that. He gets look at that swing. Got all the fans talking.
It did.
All it was a strikeout, and yet with that flair for that swing, get the K's flying out in left field, and the fans are cheering.
I'll tell you one guy who doesn't care about that is Cole Hamels. It doesn't bother him. You're going to swing and miss. You can look any way you want to.
You can go around twice, have it count for 2 strikes if you want.
Well, Hamels now has struck out 3 of the last 4 that he has faced. He has 5 punch-outs this evening. 1 gone, Marwin Gonzalez. Gonzalez involved in one of the weirder plays of the night, a double play, as he popped one into right. It went 9-2, 4-2 on the putout. And we'll take a look at our Quicken Loans rocket arms for you. Cole Hamels, 21 strikeouts, leads the team. He has 5 strikeouts tonight. Colby Lewis, 17 strikeouts, 13 for the right-hander in his last 2 starts. One in, 1 the count. Little nubber down the first baseline. Hamels, bad throw. It's by Moreland and down the line. Odor goes over to back it up, and Gonzalez will be safe in at second. Now, I don't know whether Cole thought he was going to hit Gonzalez with the throw and kind of hesitated or kind of held up a bit, but boy, he sure threw that right into the ground. Now it's going to be a 2-base error on Hamels.
Well, he had a clear path to first base. It just let go of the ball funny. Let's see. Jeff Bannister's going to ask, was he inside the line? Didn't appear that the runner caused the throw.
Jeff out there talking to Marvin Hudson, the home plate umpire. He's inside the line right there. Yeah,
looks like he had a line to first base, especially if he threw it on the second base side of first base.
And most of the time, they won't call that unless the runner gets hit with the throw, will they?
It's hard to say he's inside the line. His right foot is actually touching the chalk as he goes down there. I don't know how he could get much farther to the right. It's also a hard thing for the base runner because technically to stay to the right of the line, you're in foul territory and you have to come back to the left to tag the base. But it didn't appear from the angle that we saw that the runner caused any kind of problem for Cole to get the ball to first base. That was just a bad throw.
So goes down as an error. Gonzalez in scoring position now. Jason Castro up for his second at bat. Castro rounded out to Adrian Beltre his first time up there. That miscue, the first committed by either team. And Morgan's going to take that ground ball to first himself. On to third goes Gonzalez, but he's there with 2 outs now. And the top of the order coming up, Jose Altuve.
Second baseman Jose Altuve.
So Hamels, an opportunity again to work around a little bit of a jam. Altuve has been hit by a pitch and singled. Tried to turn that single into a double, leading off the third, and was shot down at second base by Ian Desmond. Altuve, the average back up to 316. A very aggressive hitter. You have to be careful early in the count, especially, and goes after that first pitch, slicing back into the seats. Mazzara down there to take a look. Back out of play. First 6 games this year, Altuve off to a slow start, but he's picked it up the last 8. A 375 average on base and slugging have gone up correspondingly. Only 1 RBI in the first week, 9 since. And right at the top of the league in home runs with 5, which to me is the most amazing stat for him. Altuve did not have his 5th home run until the 36th game last year. That was May 15th. The 115th game in 2014. And his first year, he had a total of 5 home runs. Didn't have his 5th until September 13th. 2 balls and a strike. Hamels continuing to work from the stretch with Gonzalez at third base. Nice block by Holiday. 3-1.
It's early in the season, only 14 games for Altuve, but another thing he's done this year from last year is he's doubled his walk rate. He's a very aggressive hitter, likes to swing early in the count, but he's been, at least early in the season, first couple of weeks of the season, more patient and has taken more walks. And if he continues that for a full season, then he just makes himself even better. He'll be the same hitter with a better on-base percentage.
He takes the walk there. Now runners at the corners.
I don't know that those pitches, exact pitches last year, would have resulted in a walk.
Probably wouldn't have gotten to a 3-ball count.
No, I think there's times in that count he would have swung and probably put the ball in play.
Well, 2 away. First and third now for George Springer. Springer hit by a pitch in the first inning. Last time up, skied to right field. 276 average for the Astro right fielder. And Springer not the exactly most patient of hitters. He can do some damage, though. Not quite as good as Altuve yet, but Springer's that 4-game hitting streak would tell you. Gets it rolling, and he can do some damage. 8 for 17 with 3 home runs in the 4 games. He's 1 shy, having homered in 3 straight. He's 1 shy of his career best. Cole making Mitch Moreland move around a little bit over there. Hamels okays the sign and checking the runners. Out of play to the right. 0-2. Take it back for Springer over his last 10 ball games. He's been a .350 hitter. Another one of the Astros that got off to a bit of a slow start. You remember the Astros won their first series last weekend against the Detroit Tigers. First time they'd won 2 out of 3. 0-2. That hit him? The foul ball hit him, or just fall down?
Not sure. Couldn't tell. He takes a big swing.
Yeah.
We remarked last night he takes the same swing 0-2 as he'll take 3-0.
No, got his foot.
Came down and got his left foot.
He probably wishes he had just fallen down. Ow. Runners in scoring position. The Astros near the bottom. They're just 36 points better than the Twins. It's early yet, though. Another 0-2 pitch. Hamels tried to do it again. This time Springer held up. Bill Welke, the first base umpire, giving the deciding opinion. So it's 1-2. Tying runs are on base for the Astros here in the 5th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You kind of thought last inning and then the first hitter this inning, Cole looked like he figured out the fastball command, but again, when he really went to it in a situation, he hasn't had it. 3-2.
Springer laid off the changeup that time. Tempting pitch, but didn't offer at it. He's seen a number of them in the game so far.
Well, I would bet he's going to see another one right here.
A tough part of the lineup. Altuve, Springer, Correa, White. Even Rasmus is off to a hot start. It's tough to pitch through this. Every guy can hit the ball out of the ballpark. It's not like the Oriole lineup in that regard.
Correa waiting in the on-deck circle. Altuve will be off, and now time called. Hamels ready. Altuve on the run. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Hamels a big strikeout. Astros strand runners at the corners. No runs, no hits, an error, and a walk. We played half the ball game. Rangers leading the Astros 2-0. Fireworks show will take place on Friday, April 29th and follows the Angels-Ranger game. Fans using the online coupon code FIREWORKS can get tickets for just $14. Visit TexasRangers.com to get your tickets today. Elvis Andrus leading things off against Doug Fister. He's showing a bunt, pulled it back for strike one. That had both Tyler Wyatt and Marwin Gonzalez charging toward the plate from first and third base, respectively. Our Ford leaderboard tonight. Starting this evening, Elvis Andrus third in the batting race. Manny Machado and Mark Trumbo, both of the Baltimore Orioles, at the top. The Rangers would attest to that. They're off to a pretty good start. Then you have a couple of Tigers right down behind Elvis. J.D. Martinez and Nick Castellanos. 2-2 to Elvis. Elvis scorched a ground ball that was picked off by Marwin Gonzalez. First time up there. 3-2. Now Elvis trying to get aboard to start the Ranger fifth. He'll be followed by the catcher, Brian Holiday. Pfister and Jason Castro not able to get together on the signs for the 3-2 pitch. And Elvis tomahawked that one right over the tarpaulin back into the first row down the left field line. One of the Adrian Beltre school of getting on top of that high pitch. Six-game hitting streak for the Rangers shortstop. Make that a 7-game streak, and that is going to be trouble. Springer able to dive to cut it off. An off-balance throw will not get Elvis. He's in with a leadoff double.
Nice job in that at bat. He got an inside fastball and he ripped it foul to left. Came back with a pitch outside and he drove it into right center. Springer's playing shallow in right field. Makes it a little bit tougher to get an angle on this ball. He's got such great athletic ability. He does get to it quickly, but can't get anything on his throw. You can see he's going straight back after that ball because of how shallow he was playing. Couldn't get anything on his throw, but very nice job of hitting by Elvis.
He's the cheering section over there led by Adrian Beltre. Yeah, that's the way to run. So Elvis at second, nobody out, and Brian Holiday trying to bunt him over. Bunts it back to the screen for strike one. Holiday lined out to left field. That ended things in the Rangers' second tonight. 167 average. Oh, the Ranger catcher. Both cornermen now for the Astros up with Tyler White, the first baseman, about 60 feet from home plate. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Don't punt this to the first baseman.
Elvis out there at second. 1 ball, 1 strike as Holiday waits. 2-1. Holiday checking with Spike Owen down there at third. Spike going through a series of signs. He'll relay them to Elvis Andrus out there at second base. And to the hitter, Brian Holiday. They're just trying to add on some more here in the 5th inning. They lead 2-0. Low, 3-1.
The count went to 2-1. Brian got the hit away sign. Now it's 3-1. Good hitters count. I figure that Pfister wants to throw him a strike right here, so you get a good pitch to bunt, get a good pitch to swing at too.
Brian batting 9th, trying to keep this going, the top of the order. Delino to Shields in that on-deck circle. Taking that all the way, and it's in for a strike to fill the count. Now Pfister ready once again. Holiday a towering fly ball to the left. Circling underneath it, Colby Rasmus. 1 out. And before Delino to Shield come up, let's send it over to John Radigan for a Chevy game break. All right, John, thank you. Well, here's Delino. Twice tonight, he has grounded it out. Laid off that big sweeping breaking ball. 1-0. Delino's tapped out to third and the ground ball right back up the middle, but it was at Jose Altuve. Hits are even at 4 in this game. Rangers the only 2 runs of the night coming on Odor's home run. Elvis out there at second. A leadoff double. He is there 1 out later. Lino with that 6-game hitting streak has seen him bat .462. 2-0. DeShields, you remember, a Rule 5 draft pick by the Rangers from the Astros before last year. Converted second baseman, had never played above Double-A for Houston, and the Rangers took a chance with him, and it has paid off pretty handsomely. Gonzalez guns him down 2 away with Elvis staying at second, and Nomar Mazara now will come up.
There have been a lot of weakly hit ground balls against Fister. He just has a great knack of disrupting any kind of timing that a hitter wants to get into.
Well, as you mentioned, Tommy, his velocity may not be where it once was, but he has that ability to pitch.
Yeah, he still does. Yep.
Nomar Mazara 0 for 2. He is lined to right, grounded to short. And again, the Astros shifting around to the right, not an overshift. But you've got Carlos Correa, the shortstop, about 3 steps to the shortstop side of second base. 0-1. And as the game has gone on, you see the radar gun readings. That curveball has gotten slower and slower. That last one just 68 miles an hour. Astros, we mentioned, shift almost as much as anybody in baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays maybe marginally more, but Astros very dependent on the statistical placement of their infielders and outfielders for that matter. Elvis stepping off his lead at second. 1 ball and 1 strike. Mazara called up from AAA on the 10th of the month. This is his 9th big league game tonight. That's in the dirt. 2-1. He has shown us and kind of amazed us at times about how selective he is at the plate, how good an idea about hitting he has. See the disparity of left-handers, right-handers, and done a great job, obviously, here against right-handers. Got 286 against lefties. That's pretty good, too, for a young man. The 2-1 pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And he does not mind hitting with 2 strikes. Not that he tries to get 2 strikes every time up there, but he doesn't mind it when a pitcher gets in front of him like that. Castro checking with Fister to make sure they're on the same page. Elvis getting ready to score on a base hit. Call strike 3. Mazara caught looking, and bat will do it. So Elvis with the leadoff double doesn't get any further than second. They strand him after 5. Rangers by 2. tonight's Jimmy John's delivery of the game, and it's been Cole Hamels, the delivery that he's gotten. First of all, from Brian Holiday, a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Then in the second, maybe one of the weirder plays you'll see. Fly ball to Mazzara. Runners going everywhere. They had the bases loaded with nobody out. And they're going to run into a double play that way, a 9-2, 4-2. And then Jose Altuve leading off the third inning, trying to stretch that into a double. And Ian Desmond says no. He made the delivery courtesy of Jimmy Johns. How about that? Cole living on the edge early. And he relied on some good things to happen. The Rangers made it happen. And as a result, Cole's gotten here into the sixth inning with that 2-0 lead. Sometimes you need a little good fortune. Part of the equipment at Major League Stadium, had a broken spike cleaner out there behind.
That thing was shattered.
Side of the mound. First pitch of the sixth inning to Carlos Correa. A breaking ball in for strike one. Correa has struck out and fly to right field. Oh, 0-2. Looks like Cole's got a little bit better feel for that cutter as he's gone on, able to run that in on the right-handers without worrying about hitting him. That was the pitch that he hit both Altuve and Springer with to start the game. That was a breaking ball that down at the shoe tops of Correa. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hamels now 76 pitches, so after all the predicament in the first couple of innings, he has settled down nicely. That one almost got away from him. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Correa, the American League Rookie of the Year last year, despite playing only 99 games. Beltre has a convenient hop, and from down under, that is out number 1. Folks, while Major League Baseball's global reach seems to be greater than ever, for now, Cuba remains one of the countries that's outside of its reach. You can watch our special documentary, Cuba, Baseball's Final Frontier, this Saturday night at 7:30 right here on Fox Sports Southwest. 1 gone. Here's the cleanup hitter, Tyler White. He hammers one, but he pulls that foul down the left field line, and he hammered it.
I think he's going up there with that in the back of his mind. He's going for it, boy. He takes some big swings. He's just waiting to see how far that goes. He knows it's foul.
Yep. So a long strike. And this would hit pretty well up the gap in left center. Desmond going over. It is out of here into the bullpen. Tyler White, a laser beam for his 5th home run of the year. It's a 2-1 Ranger lead. Well, that one he kept fair and hit it just as hard.
I think that was a cutter that just stayed right in the middle of the plate. Never got it where he wanted it.
And you saw where Brian Holiday had set up inside, a little bit inside. Had to reach back to his right for the pitch. And that line drive, 390.2 feet. So a 2-1 ball game now. Colby Rasmus up. Fouls that away. No balls, 2 strikes. Rasmus tonight has singled and popped out to short. Well, the Astros, last 2 series for the Rangers, they've seen the top 2 home run teams in the American League. Baltimore with 25 now, and with that Tyler White home run, the Astros with 22. 1-2.
Rasmus is an improved hitter this year. He's hitting for a pretty good average. It's still very early in the year, but he's tied for second in the league with 12 walks already. That's a much higher walk rate. Not swinging it quite as many pitches out of the strike zone. It's fourth in on-base percentage to go along with that.
Waited on that breaking ball and pulled it foul. Still 2-2. Cole trying to regroup after that Tonga White home run. Going after Colby Rasmus with one out. Full count. Rasmus hitting fifth in the order, to be followed by the DH, Evan Gattis. Payoff pitch. It's going to cost Rasmus a bat. Not an at-bat, but a bat. You see that last pitch kind of put an elbow in that bat. Still 3-2. Another pitch just about in the same spot.
He's staying right in there off the plate inside.
Your Steel pitch tracker showing you that conglomeration of pitches just off the inside corner, right in the fists of Rasmus. Another one that Steele will put in the same spot. That actually had a little more of the plate. Well, 9 pitches in this at bat. Rasmus and Hamels going at each other. Outside.
That one fooled the umpire.
Yeah,
right
it
there. He'd thrown 5 straight pitches on the inside part of the plate. That last one he went away with pretty much caught all of the plate. I think that one just caught the umpire by surprise. Trying to throw it in.
Yep.
That probably didn't help. But that pitch is way in the strike zone.
Yeah, even the veteran that Hamels is, when the catcher's set up inside and he missed by the width of the plate, even though it is a strike, hard for the umpire to take that away from the hitter.
Yeah.
And Doug Brocail out there to slow things down a little bit, get the bullpen a chance to get up and moving around. Hamels now up to 90 pitches for the evening. As the new pace of play rules with that 30-second timer on all visits to the mound would dictate a fairly quick visit. Tom Wilhelmsen loosening quickly in that Ranger bullpen. So 1 on, 1 out. Evan Gattis at the plate. Beltre to second. Odor turns it for a double play. Well, Brocail went out and said, hey, once you throw a double play ball, we'll get out of here. And you come on back, we can talk on the bench. 1 run, 1 hit, nobody left. After 5.5, Rangers 2, Astros 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Mayhem Inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,100 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Leslie Edgerton from Victoria wins $1,100. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam during the inning, Leslie is going to win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Hang on, Leslie. I like your chances. You got Fielder, Beltre, and Moreland. First three guys up in this inning. And Prince fouls that pitch back. He's now down on the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Fielder a single in the first. Ground ball to short in the third. Astros with nobody on and Fielder up there going into that extreme overshift defensively. Right center field, long run for Springer, on the run, a dive, and he came up with it. What a play by George Springer, who's made a habit of that against the Rangers.
You know, you see that ball go up and you allow yourself to think it's going to be a hit, and then you watch and go, oh, that's Springer going after it. He's probably going to get to it. He's not playing deep. He's got a long way to go. That's what he does out in right field. Nice play. Wow.
Well, one thing you know about the Astros, their outfield, extremely athletic. You have 3 center fielders by trade, basically playing out there. Springer and Gomez and Rasmus, all 3 have played center field a lot. And you throw Marisnik in the same outfield. They all cover a lot of ground. And really tough to hit the ball in the air and expect that to fall in any place. So 1 gone. Here's Beltre. Adrian, kind of a questioning look and a knowing smile back at Marvin Hudson. Beltre, a pop out, a ground out tonight, 0 for 2. Twisting down the right field line and back into the seats. Nothing and 2. Well, here's the Let's Motor player profile brought to you by BMW Mini. How about Adrian Beltre? 2,782 hits. That's 50th all time and 4th among primary third basemen. 415 home runs, 49th all time and 4th among third basemen. Sneaking up on 2,500 games at third base, just 2 shy of that. That is 2nd all time. The great Brooks Robinson, the only one with more. And they just signed a 2-year extension to be with the Rangers through the 2018 season. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Adrian doesn't like to talk about it, but he is the acknowledged captain of this ball club by the other 24 guys in the clubhouse. That's ripped to center field. That's down for a hit. Gomez cuts it off. Beltre with his first knock of the night extends his hitting streak to a modest 3 games. And it brings up Mitch Moreland.
Off-speed pitch right in the middle of the plate. He has no problem waiting on that. Rangers had their first multi-home run game last night. They were the last major league team to accomplish that. Be nice to do it again tonight.
Yeah, you got the right guy at the plate too. Mitch Moreland swinging the bat as well as anybody right now, especially for power.
They never feel safe in a 1-run game against anybody, but you definitely don't feel that way against the Orioles and the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
Just every guy that comes to the plate is not only the tying run, but he has home run power for the most part.
And with Beltre at first, and again the Astros with Moreland now in an overshift. 3 players on the right side of the diamond. 2 balls, no strikes. And Beltre with that last base hit. .500 average on pitches up in the strike zone. That means around letter high is the way they're defining that as far as the analytics are concerned. And we could have told you.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
No, I'm not either. We could have told you if the ball's up cap high, if it's at the T on the helmet, Adrian's probably a .500 hitter.
You know, sometimes you read that kind of a stat and you go, oh boy, I never would have known that. But Adrian having success on high pitches in the strike zone is definitely not a surprise.
Yeah.
Nice to see what your eyesight tells you confirmed by analytical data.
Will Harris getting ready in the Astros bullpen. Yeah, and that's the great thing about all the statistics now. We're starting to get quantification of what we see.
Yeah.
And it's either validated or telling you, no, you don't really see that.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that's not really what you're seeing. It's nice to have at least the confirmation part.
Yeah.
Jason Castro out there to take a little time up, along with straighten things out with Doug Fister. Harris continuing to loosen. It's Moreland out in front of the count. 3 balls and a strike. It's hitting 5th to be followed by Ian Desmond. Now Fister ready. Outside, ball 4. Mitchell take the walk. 2 on with 1 out. And Desmond coming up, and we'll see if he's going to face Fister or if A.J. Hinch decides to go to the bullpen.
Now that was a case where Fister really didn't care if he walked Mitch or not. Does set up the potential double play. Mitch had waited on his off-speed pitch and hit a double his last time up.
And we will have the answer to our query here momentarily.
Fister's not going to be real pleased if he is taken out. Well, he's not going to have a lot to say in the matter.
Well, AJ looks like he's talking to him about it anyway. Whether he's listening is a different story. Yeah, he's going to stay with the veteran right-hander.
Gave him a chance to talk himself into the game, and he did.
I think you could see the first exchange, whatever the question was, Fister said, I'm okay. A 2 on with 1 out. Ian Desmond tonight has walked and scored, and he is grounded to second. Couple of RBI in a Ranger uniform. A nice spot for him to get 1 or 2 more right here. A strike at the knees. Desmond with the average at 137. Beltre at second. Moreland trailing at first. A couple of pretty tough pitches right there, right at the bottom of the zone. That one just nipping the outside corner as well. This season, the Rangers a .307 average as a team with runners in scoring position. 1 for 6 tonight. Down the right field line, Springer going into the corner makes the catch. And back to second is Beltre. Moreland stays at first. That's out number 2.
Well, that's good defensive positioning. And an outfielder that can go get him. An 0-2 pitch, 2 strikes on you. It's not too bad a job by Ian Desmond to get a pitch away and drive it what looks like right down the right field line, but Springer was shading that way and makes it look like he was shading it even more because of how quickly he got to that ball.
Well, 2 away. Now it's up to Rougned Odor. Odor tonight, the 2-run home run back in the second. Last time up, he tapped right back to the mound. Ball 1. Again, for those who might have missed it in his first at-bat, Odor, second in the American League coming in with runners in scoring position. He was 6 for 11. He's now 7 for 12 after that home run. That is a little bit low. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Moreland, a walk is at first. Beltre, a single, is at second. 2 outs here in the Rangers' 6th inning. Line drive to left, but that is right at Rasmus. And Fister gets off the hook. No runs, a hit. 2 men are left. After 6 completed remains, the Rangers 2 and the Astros 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Second home run of the year, a 2-run blast into the upper tank. Got the Rangers on top 2-zip. Tyler White, though, for the Astros, after hitting one long and foul, kept one in play and hit it a long way into the Astro bullpen. And that is the sum total of the scoring tonight so far. 2-1 Rangers as Cole Hamels is set to work here in the top of the 7th inning. Bottom third of the Astros order. And Carlos Gomez takes ball 1. Gomez had a bunt single back in the 2nd inning. Hamels worked him over and struck him out in the 5th inning. 2-0. Cole at 93 pitches tonight. 54 strikes, 39 balls. That is high and outside. 3-0. Double-barreled action. Sam Dyson has joined Tom Wilhelmsen out of the Ranger pen. And ball 4. That's not a good sign. Walking the leadoff man in a 1-run game for Cole Hamels. Third walk of the night issued by the Ranger left-hander. Now he'll face Marwin Gonzalez. Gonzalez flied out into that double play back in the 2nd inning. Last time up, he reached on an error charged to Cole Hamels. And he takes a fastball right down the middle. 0-1. Cole in his 3 outings, you mentioned last time, the first time that he had not gone at least 6. He went 5 1/3 last time out. His 2nd outing of the year, he went 6 innings against the Angels. First outing, 7 against Seattle. The left-hander ready for the 0-1 pitch.
Oh, he had him paused there for a second.
Cole very good at kind of hanging that front leg out there and giving you a chance to make a move towards second. Astros typically very much an aggressive team, base running wise. Gomez with very good speed over there at first. Got him on the fist. Not going to be able to turn two. Odor has the only play to first. Down to second and in scoring position now is Carlos Gomez with one out.
That works like a sacrifice. You're hoping to get a double play, but no way to turn a double play when you jam a hitter and the ball was hit that softly. And there's no way Rubned could get the lead runner. He had to just take the out he could get at first base.
Jason Castro now for his third at bat. He is 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts. Rangers with a left-handed hitter up there have Elvis just a step or so to the first base side of second. So it is an overshift. Adrian Beltre has to stay fairly close to third so he can get there in case. And Gomez is going to third. Holiday can't get the handle, and Gomez in with a steal. And there's that aggressiveness we were talking about. Well, the tying run now just 90 feet away with one out.
Now he gets a good jump. He was being basically held on at second base. Brian knew he had to get rid of it quickly and had to hustle, and in the exchange couldn't hang on to the ball.
But now the Ranger infield pulled all the way in. A bunt shown, and Castro pulling the bat back. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Castro just a 147 hitter at the current time. Only 1 RBI this year, and Cole Hamels trying to reach into his bag of tricks and find a way to get this out without Gomez coming down the line from third. 3-0. This could be Cole's last hitter either way. You've got the top of the order and Jose Altuve in that on-deck circle. Three and one. That pitch number 101 for Hamels. And remind you again, Castro has had very good success in this ballpark in his career. Full count.
Castro's been a little bit prone to the strikeout. He's been up 32 times, struck out almost half the times coming into the ballgame. 15 strikeouts, and that's what Cole's hoping for right here. Get that strikeout.
And the crowd getting behind Cole Hamels.
A lot of swings and misses.
Yeah, almost half the time, huh? 4th highest percentage in the big leagues. Now Brian Holiday going to run out there very quickly and talk to Cole Hamels. Make sure they're on the same pitch selection page. Infield in, the tying run at third, 1 out here in the 7th inning. Payoff pitch coming from Hamels. Got him swinging.
That's what he was going for. That's what he was looking for.
Big strikeout for Cole Hamels, his 7th of the night. And there are 2 gone without Altuve coming up.
A cut fastball, maybe a slider. Down and away, well located, tough pitch, and got the big strikeout. So that's the guy with a man on third and less than 2 outs. But now it's Altuve with 2 outs and a man on third, and this is the hardest out in the lineup.
And Jeff Bannister staying with his veteran left-hander Cole Hamels, and Hamels has earned the right to have this at bat. Not just tonight, but through his service over the years. And he drops a breaking ball in for strike 1. Altuve has walked, been hit by a pitch, and singled. 1 for 1 officially. And With 2 outs, obviously the Ranger infield will go back to normal depth. A couple of steps to the left for the right-handed hitting Altuve. Outfield in a similar fashion. 0-2. 90-mile-an-hour heater. After the slow curveball, had to look about 10 miles an hour quicker. Hamels' heroes out there getting behind their hero. And the red-out Ranger fans in support of Cole Hamels. They're standing around Globe Life Park. 0-2. Hitting. Second time that Altuve has been hit tonight by a Hamels pitch.
He might have been lucky that it did hit him.
Yeah.
And that curveball was in the dirt. Could have bounced back to the screen.
Now batting right fielder George Springer.
A.J. Hinch going out to ask a question or two of Marvin Hudson, the home plate umpire, as if to say, I would imagine, are you sure that didn't, or that hit Altuve and didn't just bounce in the dirt? Again, A.J. Hinch out of challenges, but just being in the 7th inning, you can ask the umpires if they would take a look on their own volition.
Yeah, Altuve really didn't have any reaction like it hit him. I didn't notice anyway.
We'll get a look at it here. If it got him, it was right on the toe.
Yeah, he wanted that. He wanted the hit by pitch. It definitely hit him.
Yeah. That's going to do it for Cole Hamels. Jeff Bannister has made the call to the bullpen. Hamels out after 6 2/3. He leaves with a 2-1 lead, but runners at the corners. So pitching change underway here at Globe Life Park. We're back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Ticket Thursday is tomorrow when your Rangers take on these Astros. Tickets for all Thursday home games are half price in the Upper Reserve, Upper Box, Lexus Club Terrace, and Lower Box. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials and use the coupon code OZARKA to redeem this offer. Well, Cole Hamels, 6 2/3 of what was no walk in the park tonight. He had to battle himself and battle the Astros and did a very credible job holding the Astros to 1 run. He gives way to Sam Dyson. Worked a very quick and tidy 1-2-3 8th inning last night. He's asked to come in and face George Springer with Altuve going on the first pitch and no throw to second base. So Altuve into scoring position also with a stolen base.
Altuve leads the American League with 7 stolen bases now. He's a guy that has stolen as many as 50 bases, 50 more or more bases, and generally in the upper 30s.
Springer 0 for 2 tonight. Right back to Dyson.
That's just knocking the bat out of the right there.
There you go. Sam gets it done again. And he strands 2 runners. So we will go to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Rangers still leading the Astros 2-1 on Fox Sports Southwest. First and third, 2-out jam, and Cole Hamels a good night tonight with his 6 2/3 of 1-run balls. The Rangers have that 1-run lead as they come to bat here in the bottom of the 7th inning. And they will face a new pitcher on the hill. It is 31-year-old right-hander Will Harris, and Harris out of LSU, played his collegiate ball out there. Actually, he was a first baseman in college. And he has become a very proficient reliever with both the Diamondbacks and last year with the Astros. 68 appearances last year, and I think it was into June before he was scored upon. He has been very, very good for Houston, and in a spot here where he's got Elvis Andrus, Brian Holiday, and Delino DeShields in the Rangers' 7th inning. Elvis extending his hitting streak with a leadoff double in the 5th inning. Andrus now a 7-game streak, and that ties Adrian Beltre for the longest by a Ranger this year. 2 balls, no strikes.
Harris has a good cut fastball, 90, 92 miles an hour with it. Throws it a lot. And based on what he did last year, he has had a lot of success throwing it.
Two-0 pitch from Harris. 2-1. Harris, a pretty good-sized guy at 6'4", and listed at almost 250 pounds. Big barrel-chested guy out there, and you can see why he would have been a first baseman. And it looks like he hit for some power. Wide of third, off the glove of Gonzalez, goes out into left field, and Elvis is aboard again. And again, a leadoff on base for Elvis.
Took a little tricky hop on Gonzalez. So many of the infielders like to go down on one knee, slide after a ball. It's like the kind of ball you got to do is reach down and try to catch it with your glove without the slide. But that's why a lot of guys like to play him nowadays.
And that's going to be ruled an error on Gonzalez for that missed slide attempt. Well, the first error charged to the Astros tonight. Elvis aboard on the miscue. Here's Brian Holiday. Holiday's twice skied out to left field. 0-1. Yeah, I would think going into that slide it'd make it difficult, and then Gonzalez got caught on that one if the ball takes a little bit of a funny hop at the last second. Tough to adjust to it, I would think.
Yeah, it's always surprised me when I see infielders do that on balls that they can catch. I mean, there's some you have to slide or dive for, but on balls where it looks like all you have to do is reach down and catch them, just seems like that would be the easier way to do it. But maybe there's something there that we're not seeing. Because you do see a lot of infielders do it now.
Yeah, you do.
I remember asking Ron Washington about it. And I don't think there's a more respected infield instructor than Ron Washington. And he had always said he would prefer his guys to stay on their feet.
No balls, 2 strikes. Just off the outer edge. 1-2. Holiday a 158 average as he faces Will Harris. Elvis at first. 2-1 Rangers. Hits even at 5 tonight. Those starting pitchers acquitted themselves very well this evening. 6 innings for Doug Fister. 6 2/3 for Cole Hamels.
Yeah, Cole was in trouble and had to make a lot of pitches tonight. That was a very stressful outing as far as the amount of pitches he had to throw with men in scoring position, men on base, no outs. For Fister, he had a little bit easier time. He had the one bad pitch to Odor that cost him 2 runs, the upper deck home run. It was a strong game for Fister.
Although he did walk 2 tonight, which makes headlines. He walks 2 about every. Well, he'd come in and he only had 2 walks. Yeah, I'm sure he's gone a month or so before without having 2 walks. Harris ready. A check of first. And Holiday spoiling a pretty good pitch up and away. The line for Cole Hamels: 5 hits in 6 2/3. 1 run he was earned on the home run. 3 walks, also 3 hit by pitch, and 7 strikeouts. Maybe as inconsistent as we will probably see Cole Hamels in a ballgame. And much to his credit, still able to hold a very good hitting team in the Astros down to just the 1 run. Got him swinging. So Holiday out on strikes. Elvis still at first. 1 away now. Delino to Shields comes to the plate. And before Delino comes up, we're going to send it over to John Radigan for a Chevy game break.
Wow, right, John, there's one of those advanced metrics that you don't see very often.
Yeah,
we haven't seen Aaron Hicks play that much. I can't picture how he throws, but I do now with a 105-mile-an-hour throw from the outfield.
Say, apparently he throws pretty hard.
I'd like to see Martine's best throw. Leonis, he's got a great arm out there. But
well, that's the thing with these new ones now. We're going to have to get a little data bank going to really see how good that is.
Who does have? We know who's got the best arm right now. It's Aaron Hicks. Someone has to dethrone 105.
Delino takes outside for ball 1. But you're right, there are some outfielders that I'm interested to see when they uncork their best throw, what they get the radar reading up to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be faster than any pitcher can throw because they get a running start.
A running start, exactly.
Delino a little tardy on that high fastball. 1-1. Although, you know, as fast as that sounds, and it is fast, you think about Aroldis Chapman hitting 105 from the mound a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You know, eye-popping that had to have been to the hitter.
Yeah.
Delino 3 ground ball outs tonight. Down in the count now at 1-2.
Boy, Harris is a great example of how movement on a pitch makes him very hard to hit. He throws that pitch 91 miles an hour basically, and it cuts 2 or 3 inches away from a right-hand hitter. And you see a lot of bad swings at it. Curveball for something else to look at.
Back-to-back strikeouts, 2 gone now. Nomar Mazara coming up. And A.J. Hinch going out to the mound. He's got the left-hander Tony Sipp in the bullpen. You saw Delino not able to make contact with that curveball. That's going to do it for Will Harrison. Tony Sipp, the veteran southpaw, coming in to face Nomar Mazara. 1 on, 2 outs, a 2-1 Ranger lead. Mazara waiting to hit against Sipp. We'll tell you all about that matchup when we come back right after this. Rangers' upcoming series with the Yankees. Get 2 upper reserve tickets for $25 on April 25th or $26 on April 26th. Use the coupon code FSSW at TexasRangers.com to get your pay-the-date tickets. This ticket offer is courtesy of Fox Sports Southwest. Well, the 32-year-old veteran southpaw Tony Sipp on now to face Nomar Mazara. Elvis at first with 2 outs. Tony Sipp made a pretty good career out of being left-handed and being able to work in late-game situations. His 7th appearance of the year. He's only worked 4 2/3 in his first 6 outings. Last couple of years, he's been right at 60 appearances for the Houston Astros. And I'm sure Elvis, if he can read Sipp well and get a good jump, is going to try and get himself in a scoring position for Mazara. Nomar tonight has lined to right, grounded to short, and been called out on strikes. Sipp, as you can tell, doesn't really have a great move for a left-hander. Speaking of left-handers, Jake Diekman loosening in that Ranger bullpen. But Sipp tends to vary the speed with which he picks his leg up and tries to keep the runner off balance as well as the hitter. One ball and 1 strike. Needless to say, Nomar Mazara does not have any experience against Tony Sipp, at least not in the regular season. One and 2. Tony Sipp originally came up with the Cleveland Indians. First foray into the big leagues back in 2009. Spent 1 year in Arizona before coming over to Houston the year before last. Ken Giles in that Astro bullpen. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That evens the count. Now, Sipp played 1 year collegiately at Clemson. He's out of Pascagoula, Mississippi. Originally a 45th round draft pick by the Cleveland Indians back in 2004. Long road to the big leagues for him, but once he got there, he's found a niche. His chop just foul, and he'll come back and try it again at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now, Tom, we were kind of talking last night about what Nomar Mazara looked like against left-handed pitchers, and he doesn't give very much. Tony Sipp's probably as hard a left-hander to face that doesn't throw all that hard. For a left-hander, he's got to be tough to do it.
Well, he's got a good hard breaking ball, which could be a problem for lefty. That's why left-handed specialists late in the game stay in the big leagues as long as they do, because they can throw a left-handed breaking ball to a left-hand hitter and get him out.
Check swing, that pitch inside.
That one never broke.
Yeah. So the count has gone full, and now with the 2 outs, Elvis will be off and moving from first base. Mazara trying to keep this inning alive, and Prince Fielder is a menacing presence in that on-deck circle. Sipp ready. Elvis on the move. Payoff pitch got him swinging. Went upstairs, and Nomar didn't have quite enough to reach it. Nothing going for the Rangers. They strand a runner on an error. On to the 8th we go. 2-1 Texas on Fox.
Wasn't Tom time for the Progressive fan of the game? We got to give it to Ashley. It's her birthday, and she decided to celebrate watching the Rangers and bring 8 of her daughter's closest friends. Ashley, you having a good time?
I'm having a great time, but I'm exhausted.
Oh, I understand. Well, there you go. Here's the bag. Congratulations. Way to go. Good to have you out here, girls. And happy birthday, Ashley. There we go.
Let's go,
Oh, they are having a great time. Sam Dyson back to the hill now. He got out of that first and third 2-out jam that he entered the ball game. In the 7th inning, he faces Correa, White, and Rasmus. Carlos Correa 0 for 3 this evening, a strikeout, a flyout, and a ground out. Rangers still clinging to that 2-1 lead that they have had for the last several innings. Carlos Correa with a swing like that, you can see why he would have generated a 461-foot home run this year already. Did that in Yankee Stadium, as a matter of fact. There's that breaking ball that Sam broke out last night with great effect. He stayed up high with that one. 2-1 the count. Dyson out of Tampa, Florida, Jesuit High School. Produced a few major leaguers in its time. 2-2. We were remarking last night, Sam reserved that 97-mile-an-hour fastball for Carlos Gomez after he snapped off about 4 or 5 great sliders. Gomez swung at it like it was 197. There's the breaking ball, pretty well hit right center field. That is up the alley, and that ball's off the wall. Correa into second, ahead of a strong throw by Nomar Mazara, but he's there with a leadoff double here in the 8th.
We talked about the slider that Sam threw in last night's game. He threw a lot of terrific sliders last night. That was a slider to Correa, and Correa stayed with that pitch and drove it to the 377 sign in right center field. That one didn't get down. Last night they were a little bit sharper and more down and slightly out of the strike zone. That one was on the corner but up. And Correa was able to get good wood on it. Fortunately, it stayed in the ballpark, but now it's a man on second, nobody out. Tough jam to pitch out of.
So Dyson now with the tying run at second will face Tyler White. White last time up lined a home run into the Astro bullpen in left center field. Jammed him. Beltre. 1 out. Big pitch there. Dyson went back to his bread and butter.
That's just going up there and swinging as hard as you can, trying to pull a home run, and kind of playing right into Sam's cards. Jammed him, got the little dribble to third base. Man stays at second. Don't advance the runner. Get one big out.
Effective pitch and an effective ground ball, and that's going to do it for Sam Dyson. But Dyson will leave with the tying run at second base. Jake Diekman, the left-hander, is being summoned from the bullpen. Another pitching change underway here at Globe Life Park. We're back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Live with MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and a whole lot more. Download MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or your tablet. Jake Diekman enters the ball game with the tying run at second base. 1 out here in the 8th inning. And Colby Rasmus, left-handed hitter, will stay in to face him. Diekman came in last night, struck out Tyler White to end the threat in the 7th. And he fires a strike in there at 94 miles an hour to Rasmus. Rasmus tonight has singled and walked. Also popped out 1 out of 2 officially. Diekman sets. And that pitch inside, a foul tip.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't see that foul tip.
Didn't either. I wouldn't have known unless Marvin Hudson gave a foul tip signal, because that ball was back to the backstop in a hurry. Yep.
There it is.
See the change of direction ever so slightly. So Diekman now with the advantage in the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Rasmus 2 out of 5 in previous matchups with Jake Diekman. So this has not been a left-handed matchup that's favorable by any means. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Good job right there by Brian, blocking that ball down and away.
Well, he did. He went out and got his whole body in front of that.
Didn't try to backhand
Yep.
it.
Just knocked it right down in front of him. The 1-2 pitch. That evens things up.
Mentioned Rasmus is much less likely early in the season to swing at pitches out of the strike zone. He's walked a lot more this year, 2nd in the league in walks, as a matter of fact, with 12. 13 he actually walked in the 6th inning, so he hasn't walked today.
Big pitch here on 2-2. And ball 3.
Well, maybe last year he would have swung at some of those pitches. Altuve the same way, and make you throw him a strike.
So a full count. Rasmus hitting 6th or 5th in the order. Evan Gattis, the 6th place hitter, and the DH is next. Diekman's payoff pitch. Call strike 3.
Well, he eyeballed him, but he eyeballed 1 too many. Big strikeout right there. Let's take a look at it. Sinking fastball. Beautiful pitch, down and in. Not much you could do with it if you swung at it. Thought it was ball 4, but Marvin Hudson made the call.
I saw Rasmus in a double take, and he was hoping for a ball call.
He knew it was going to be a tough pitch to hit from the lefty, and it caught just the corner of the low inside part of the strike zone.
Now here's Evan Gattis, the DH, who has a base hit in 3 trips tonight. And an infield single back in the 2nd. Since then, he has struck out and grounded into a double play. 2 outs, tying run at second base. Rangers 2 runs on 5 hits. The Astros 1 run on 6 hits. And it's just off the outside corner, 2-0. Gattis came over last year from the Atlanta Braves, and he was slotted as the DH when they made the trade. Led the team in home runs and RBI and triples. It's quite a combination for a big guy. 2-1. Gattis 0 for 6 with 4 strikeouts against Diekman. Correa establishing his lead out there at second base. Two and two now. Diekman came in last night, struck out the only batter he faced. Came in tonight, struck out Rasmus. And he has gone right after Gallus here. Even the count now, 2 and 2. And he's brought in some high octane with him. Crowd again, 25,821 on hand. And they are supporting their Rangers against the Astros tonight. The 2-2. Call strike 3. He throws him like a side of beef on the way to market. The tying run stranded at second base. We have finished 7 1/2. The Rangers still on top, 2-1.
One lead over the Astros as we head to the bottom of the 8th here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. This is the middle of a 3-game series between Houston and Texas. The finale coming tomorrow in another night game, same time, same place here at Globe Life Park. Right here on Fox Sports Southwest. Dallas Keuchel going for the Astros. He'll face off against Prince Fielder. He's got a .353 average in his last 20 against the Astros. We thank the fine folks at AT&T High-Speed Internet for getting us ready for the finale between these two. Mañana, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. Now we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Ken Giles now on, and Giles, one of the big acquisitions by the Astros in the offseason. That was quite a deal that brought Giles from Philadelphia to the Astros. Mark Appel, and most importantly right now, Vince Velasquez among the pitchers to go to the Phillies. And, Giles fires strike 1 to Prince Fielder. Prince tonight 1 for 3. Giles brought in with the intention of having him step into the closer's role, and that didn't happen. He had the kind of spring that left some doubt, and Lou Gregerson said, hey, I've got a pretty good closer myself.
Yeah, I saved 30 games last year.
Give me the chance.
He had a great year last year. Good numbers. He actually deserved to stay right where he was. He saved 4 games. Hasn't given up a run yet, Gregerson, so he's doing a nice job.
Popped up by Fielder. White drops it. Going Fielder is at first. And the crowd loves that here at Globe Life Park.
I think the crowd loves anything where they can legitimately say in a big league game, I could have done that.
Yeah.
You know, normally they can't. You know, you see a play that's booted and the fan can't make that play. But on that kind of a play that you see converted into an out almost every single time, a fan can legitimately say, I think I could have caught that ball. And Tyler White will catch it almost every time too, but not that time. Looked like he had his glove right in front of his eyes and didn't see it the last 20. Didn't see it the last 20 feet.
I think that's what happened.
I remember Mac talking about that last year.
Hanser Alberto now has come on as a pinch runner at first for a fielder. Well, Alberto, with his good speed now aboard, and Adrian Beltre at the plate, who is 1 for 3.
Okay, he sees it. Now he's got his glove right in front of his eyes. It hit off the heel of his glove.
Yep. Hey, dang, that was there a second ago. Slider in for strike 1. Beltre had a single to center his last time up. That was in the 6th inning. 291 season average. Rangers would love to tack on a couple of insurance runs. Out of play. Giles getting that pitch up there at 99 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's got the big fastball for sure.
0-2. Giles last year with the Phillies had 87 strikeouts and 70 innings of work. Saved 15 games for Philadelphia. Adrian spoiling a pitch down and away. No balls, 2 strikes.
He's got his hands up before the catcher even catches the ball. That's pretty good timing.
He's had a lot of practice at traffic cop. Watch this.
You're going to tell Prince, don't go. He's got the ball.
Alberto taking the instruction from Beltre.
Hansers, excuse me.
Heating well the stop sign. Time was called. Adrian wisely not backing out of the box until he was sure, and he never was sure, that Marvin Hudson was going to grant time, but Hudson did. Now everybody's set. 1-2. Hard hit down the line, a fair ball. Alberto will turn second, motor into third, Beltre to second. A double, and the Rangers have second and third with nobody out.
There's a 98-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part of the plate. Adrian got enough of it to get it into left field for a double. Pitch is not even close to being a strike, and that's 98 miles an hour. And he fought that ball off for a double down the left field line.
How do you do that?
Well, there's not many people that can do that.
That's amazing. You know, it's one thing if that were a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that ran in on him a little bit. 98 in there. Something else.
Pretty amazing.
Now, Beltre with his 6th double of the year. Second and third, nobody out. Infield all the way in. And Mitch Moreland, who loves to hit a fastball, up there now. He didn't get the fastball. 0-1.
I think the Giles is well aware of that fact.
Can't keep secrets around the big leagues very long. Mitch 1 for 2, a double and a walk tonight. And batting average .265. Looking for a couple more RBI here. In the dirt. And that ball just happened to jump up and Go off the chest protector of Jason Castro.
All you can do is get yourself in position and hope the ball hits you in the right spot.
And that was far enough out in front of the plate that you hope it came up. If it stays down, there's nothing you can do.
Anything could have happened on that one.
1-1 to Moreland. Moreland's double back in the 4th inning. Hit it off the wall right down the left field line. Just a bit outside, 2-1. Couple of big runs for the Rangers at 2nd and 3rd. Rangers with a 2-1 lead right now. Check swing, it's a strike.
That's a tough strike, but that's the strike that got a strikeout for the Rangers in the last inning. Remember the ball that Rasmus took was right in that same spot.
Well, Giles going for the strikeout of Moreland.
One to Gaddis was in a similar spot on the other side of the plate. Whoa.
Mitch able to lay off that breaking ball.
Tough one to lay off of after a 98-mile-an-hour fastball that you took.
A full count. Giles working to Moreland. Mitch trying to get aboard also. He and Desmond in that on-deck circle. Desmond the only Ranger that's had any at-bats against Ken Giles. Now Mitch asked for time. Three and two with no out. 25-year-old Ken Giles to the plate. Still 3-2. Probably the toughest spot for a fastball to try and hit, and Mitch did a pretty good job of just getting wood on it. Foul it back. That fastball up just above the shoulders. And at 98, not easy to get the bat on it. Castro out to say something to Giles. In the infield, pulled in. There's that last pitch just at the top of the strike zone. Maybe a step or so to the right. Another 3-2 pitch coming. Lost him, ball 4. Mitch laid off 2 very good breaking balls late in that count. And that fills the bases for Desmond.
A good battle up there by Mitch. He earned that walk.
You mentioned Ian Desmond, the only Ranger that's had any at-bats in the regular season against Ken Giles. Desmond 2 for 5. He's also had a couple of walks against Giles. Nobody out, the bases full of Rangers. Desmond 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. First pitch breaking ball. In his career, Ian Desmond a .388 hitter with the bases full. We got Alberto, Beltre, and Moreland, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. A little bit low.
17 pitches for Giles so far. Hasn't gotten an out yet.
Right-hander okays the sign. 2-1. Just the way Desmond's taking the pitch, looks like he's confident up there right now. Like he's seeing the ball well, and he's got a good idea of what he wants to do. Sky to right. Springer toward the line. Very questionable depth. Alberto started down the line and wisely held up. Springer with a good arm, and that throw there in plenty of time had Panzer not stayed at the bag.
Well, you mentioned it, all the outfielders, Buzz, were capable of playing center field, and all of them can also throw. They've all got good arms. Gomez got a terrific arm in center field. You saw that Springer has an excellent arm, and so does Rasmus in left field. They can go get him, and they can throw.
So that is out number 1. And Rougned Odor comes to the plate. Odor tonight 1 for 3. That one was a 2-run home run. And he's got a chance here to add some more. One swing of the bat. Our AT&T high-speed internet replay will take you back to the second inning. Odor off of Doug Fister into the upper tank. Upper home run porch, and Odor's second home run of the year. Ball 2. Sean Tollison ready in that Ranger bullpen. Tolly had his 4th save last night. I don't think you could object if you tacked on about 4 or 5 right here.
Not at all.
Out of play. 2-1. Odor now 1 for 3 tonight with runners in scoring position. 7 for 14 and even 500. 2 balls and a strike. 3 balls and a strike. And nowhere to put Rougned. Brent Strom, the pitching coach, A.J. Hinch, the skipper. Kind of a helpless feeling if you happen to be those two guys.
Yep.
3-1 to Rougned Odor. Bases full of Rangers. Crowd getting into it here. Now back right below us. Full count. Odor hitting 7th in the order. Elvis Andrus will be next.
The difference between that pitch and the one that he hit for the home run was about 11 miles an hour.
Yeah. The payoff pitch. Popped up. Not nearly deep enough as Rasmus takes care of it. That is out number 2. So now it's up to Elvis Andrus, going to take a base hit or so to get more on the board for the Rangers. Well, we've seen some pitchers scuffle in an inning and turn things around in the same inning, and Giles on the verge of doing that.
Well, when you've got the velocity, you've got a little bit more margin for error. That was a good pitch to hit near the middle of the plate. Rougned had a good swing at it. He just got underneath it a little bit.
Well, the infield now back at normal depth with 2 outs. Elvis 1 for 3 tonight. First pitch breaking ball for strike 1. In his career, Elvis a .356 hitter with the bases full. Another breaking ball. 0-2.
This is a hard situation to be in against Giles. You've seen off-speed pitches for 2 strikes. Haven't seen the fastball yet.
And you know it's there.
Yeah, you've seen the velocity. You've seen the speed on the scoreboard.
Elvis a little mental adjustment before he stepped back in. Giles okays the sign, ready for the 0-2 pitch. He hung one to him, and Elvis would like to have that back. That was a very hittable pitch.
He got away with one right there. 0-2. He's not trying to do that. He looks out toward right field. He knows he got away with that one.
Giles about ready to throw his 29th pitch of this 8th inning. Got him swinging. Breaking ball. I saw 4 breaking balls in a row, and Giles gets the strikeout. Rangers had him full with nobody out, leave him loaded. And that brings us to tally time here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Rangers on top by 1.
Drama at the old ballpark tonight as the Rangers take a 2-1 lead into the 9th inning, and it is tally time in Texas. John Radigan here in the Captain Morgan Club getting ready for Rangers Live. Mark McLemore and I will bring you the dramatic conclusion of this one. We'll have all the post-game reaction to it, too. It's coming up immediately following the game. We'll hear from Banny, from the players, check back in with Buzz and Tom. It's all coming up. It's Rangers Live, guys, right after the game.
All right, John, here we go. 9th inning, and Sean Tollison on for the 2nd straight night. Tolly came in last night and despite giving up a run on no hits in that 9th inning, got his 4th save. He is 4 out of 5 in save opportunities this year. Tollison has given up an 0 for 6 in his last 2 ball games, so that's what he is looking for here. A 2-1 Ranger lead, bottom 3rd of the Astro order, starting with Carlos Gomez. 1 ball and no strikes. One and one. Remember, Tollison came in last night, walked the first hitter that he saw. It was Colby Rasmus. Rasmus swiped second and scored on an infield grounder. It was kind of a harmless run as it turned out. But in a 2-1 game, a little bit different here tonight. 1-1 pitch. Now a ball and 2 strikes. Carlos Gomez walked his last time up. That was leading off the 7th inning. And he was stranded at 3rd base. Pretty good breaking ball, and Gomez did a great job of laying off. 2-2. Just getting a piece of it to stay alive. Tollison and Gomez have not faced each other in the regular season. Gomez, of course, with Milwaukee until he came over to the Astros late last year. Moreland to Tollison covering a big out number one.
Yeah, good job by Sean making a good pitch. Good play by Mitch. He's so good at leading the pitcher to the bag. We saw that the other night. Perfect throw. Easy play for Sean. One big out. Leadoff hitter in a one-run game. Huge out.
Now Preston Tucker has grabbed the bat. He's going to come off the bench to pinch hit for Marwin Gonzalez. Now, Tucker came on last night as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning. Ended up staying in the game, playing in left field, and was 0 for 2 with a couple of fly balls. One ball and no strikes. Tucker, a .250 average. He is 0 for 1 against Tollison. Dolly last night after the leadoff walk got 3 consecutive hitters out. Fly ball to center, a ground ball to short, and the game-ending strikeout. 2-1 to Tucker. Talked about it last night, Tom. Tollison working up in the strike zone, up and out of the strike zone quite a bit. I don't know if that's by design or not, but he's not able to locate the ball in the strike zone there. That's down and out of play.
Yeah, last night the walk to Rasmus came on. Every pitch was, they were all borderline. They were all right at the top of the strike zone. But that was the location of every pitch that led to that leadoff walk.
Two and two the count as Tollison reads the signs. Got him on the fist. It's popped up. Elvis waiting for it. 2 gone.
Great fastball, 94 miles an hour. Inside, jammed him. Sean used both sides of the plate that time. Moved the ball around a little bit. Went with his fastball at 94. Got the second out.
And the crowd now on their feet, and A.J. Hinchley has gone to the last left-hander on his bench. That's Luis Valbuena to pinch hit, and Doug Brocail going to head out to the mound very quickly to make sure that the scouting report is refreshed in the battery's minds. Remember, we talked yesterday at the outset of this series, the differences last year in the Silver Booth, Rangers winning 13 of the 19 ball games. They also won 5 of 6 one-run games. And that was a big difference in getting the series victory over the Astros. Well, here they are again in a one-run game. This time looking for their 9th straight win in this ballpark against the Astros.
Well, Valbuena's got some power. He hit 25 home runs last year for the Astros.
Off speed and strike one.
You wonder if that conversation was, this is a first ball fastball hitter with power, because he saw a changeup on the first pitch.
Valbuena has faced Tollison 2 other times. He's gotten 1 hit in those 2 at-bats. Another changeup. 1-1. He went with a 3rd straight changeup. 2 balls and a strike. Sean reading the signs for his 15th pitch of this 9th inning. to the left side and through the shift for a 2-out single. Well, Valbuena taking exactly what the Rangers were willing to give him, and that was a base hit the other way. But he represents the tying run at first with 2 outs, and now the top of the order coming up.
They had the shift on, and that's a sinking fastball down and away. Pretty tough pitch to pull, especially after you've seen several changeups. He just kind of slapped at the ball, got the bat on it, found a hole with it. Yeah, it was not the ideal situation. You'd love to get a 1-2-3 inning so you don't have to see Altuve right here.
Well, Tollison saw him last night. Altuve grounded out to short. And now Jake Marisnick is going to go in as a pinch runner for Valbuena. So Marisnick, who can really pick him up and lay him down. Big speed at first base, representing the tying run. Altuve tonight is 1 for 1. He's been hit twice by a pitch, walked, and singled. And the first pitch, a fastball for strike 1.
You've seen a few of those pitches in the last couple of innings on either side of the plate, right at the knees, right in the corner. Well located strikes.
Altuve 1 out of 10, including last night against John Tollison. Dolly has been able to work him over pretty well. A very important one here. There goes Marisnick. He stopped and came back.
He would have had a good pitch to go on. Slider down, cutter or slider down and away.
I would think in this situation, if you're Marisnick, you better make sure you are going to make it if you take off, huh?
Yeah, with Altuve up there, for sure. Altuve, outfield's playing very deep. They're trying to take away the possibility of a double.
1-1 as Tollison readies.
If Marisnick steals second, they might move in a little bit.
Right. Ranger infield playing 3 steps around to the left side. Adrian Beltre guarding that third base line. Fastball is high, and the count goes to 2-1. Ryan Holiday flashing the signs out. John Tollison said, yep, that's what we're going to do. Hit to right field. Mazzara back there, patient perfectly, and that is a winner. John Tollison with his 5th save, 2nd straight over these Houston Astros. The Rangers win another 1-run victory over Houston. A 2-1 game tonight. Cole Hamels gets his 3rd win of the year. And again, great work by the bullpen with Dyson, Diekman, and Tollison. It's not a law firm, but it might as well be because they laid down the law to the Astros. Well, the Rangers make do with just 2 runs, although they did have some opportunities to cash in more, especially in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Couldn't quite get that done, but the bullpen made it stand up. And the Rangers make it 9 straight over the Astros in this ballpark. They've won the first 2 of this Silver Boot Series of 2016. And here's how it ended.
Well, you just had the feeling Altuve was going to make solid contact. In that situation, the outfielders are playing extra deep to keep the ball from going over their head. Mazzara would have had that play anyway, but it made it that much easier because he was 7 or 8 steps back.
So Sean Tollison, Brian Holiday, congratulatory hugs, and they walk off a winner. And let's head down to the field. Emily Jones is standing by.
Thank you very much, Rougned Odor. The big home run there in the 2nd. Take me through that at-bat.
I mean, I was fighting in that bat. I get to 3-2 account. He threw me a fastball up and in and just put a good swing on it.
This rivalry that's developing between these 2 teams, does it get you guys a little bit extra fired up when you face the Astros?
I mean, we always try to do the best that we can in the field, and that's what we do today.
Defensively, you guys have had a focus on that the entire season. It seemed like today it came in really big.
Can I go?
No. Rugi, one more. Una más pregunta, por favor.
Hurry up.
Cole Hamels today, plus the defense. Just talk about how things were working for you guys out in the field.
I mean, we're trying to do the best that we can in the field. I mean, when Cole Hamels pitch, they're hitting a lot of ground balls to him, and we're just trying to put good defense on it, and that's what we do.
Go warm up. Odor, you guys, back up to you.
All right, Em. Yeah, that's what they do, and they did it again for the second straight night. So we'll total things out and be back with some final thoughts right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.